Howdy y'all, TheJTJ here, or RollToWound.com. We're continuing our Soulblight Gravelords Battle Tome Deep Dive. We're focusing on the Warscrolls today, looking at the Crimson Court and Vampire Lord. So, let's get ready to roll. Alright everybody, so we're going to check out a couple Warscrolls today. I selected Prince Duvalle and his Crimson Court, as well as a Vampire Lord. The reason I sort of did that is I feel that the Prince is kind of like your Vampire Lord. He's kind of generic. He's a very similar stat line. And really, they don't fit in. I guess you could put them in with the name characters. But these are the two we're going to check out today, so let's get into it. So here's the Prince. He's got a 6-inch move, 5 wounds, 3+ save, which is good, and 10 bravery. He has 1 weapon, a possessed blade, 1-inch range, 4 attacks, 3s to hit, 3s to wound, -1 rend, and 2 damage. He is a named character that is a single model, and he is armed with a possessed blade. He has the hunger, like pretty much every vampire. If you kill something, he's going to heal D3 wounds, which technically is on average, you're going to heal pretty much half his wounds back. He's a wizard, and he can attempt to cast and unbind 1 spell. He knows Arcane Bolt, Mystic Shield, and the Fiendish Lure spell, which is his signature spell. Fiendish Lure has a casting value of 5. Is successfully cast. Pick 1 enemy unit within 6 inches of the caster invisible to him. Add 1 to the hit rolls for attacks that target that unit until your next hero phase. So it's a pretty nice spell. Short range, but if you're really stacking in multiple units, attacking, maybe the enemy has a big blob right out front you're trying to chew through, or maybe it's Archaon sitting in the middle, you hit that and everybody's got a plus to hit him. Keywords: Death, Vampire, Soulblight Gravelord, Hero, Wizard, and Prince Duvalle. So he's coming in at 200 points, but that's not really true because this whole Crimson Court, you have to buy them together. He's a hero, he's a wizard, purchase a part of the set, which we'll get to the Crimson Court in just a second. Does not have a lineage keyword. Would gain the trait of whatever bloodline he is in. So that's kind of an interesting thing. As opposed to other named characters in the book which have a bloodline already, you can stick him in different places and he'll get different benefits. And he is a named foot vampire. So looking at max wound output is 8 and average wound output is 3. And of course, if you have all attack, you have buffs. There's lots of ways to buff, so that average probably should go up a little bit, at least to 4. But just from seeing that right there, that's not scary to anyone. So keep that in mind when you're looking at him and running him into something. He's not necessarily going to do a lot of damage. You have to pick and choose where he goes into combat. Cannot take enhancements, but can be ran in any bloodline. So there's a give and take there. He's a vampire keyword, and his spell's pretty good. The bad: average frontline hero in both damage, output, survivability, and utility. You see that with a lot of the heroes in the book, is where they're sort of good, they're okay at everything, but they're not really the best at anything. So when you're taking them, you're like, well, I can cast a little bit of spell, I can do a little bit of buff, they're kind of tanky, but not, their wounds are low, not doing so much damage, but they can do a little bit of it all. So it's also a trade-off. Thoughts: cool set of models to run in your army. That's the first thing that I always say, is like, well, it looks really good on the table with these guys. 200 points is not bad for what you get. That being said, because if you really look at him himself, he would probably be like 160 by himself. So you're getting the Crimson Court for like 40 points is the way I kind of look at it. It's a cheap unit. They don't have to run next to each other. So there is some thought to go in here. Maybe you're wanting an extra hero. I'm not saying he's an auto-include by any means, but, if somebody ran it, I wouldn't be like, oh, that's a bad idea. Fiendish Lure is a A-, low casting, needs to be close to the unit. Yes, a 5 to cast is really good. So Unit rating B, only a little more than a Vampire Lord, but loses out on their very good command ability, and he can't take enhancements. So while you might take him because he's cool, I think you might be better off just taking a regular Vampire Lord. But we'll talk about that in just a second. So we're going to look at the Crimson Court. Now, the Crimson Court is a unit, and it's basically 3 models, but it's bought as a set. They have a 6-inch move. They're 1 wound each. They have a 4-up save, which is a little disappointing, and they're 10 bravery. So each one has a different weapon, and you'll just have to keep that in mind when you're attacking each one. They each have their own weapons profile, and I won't read all through these profiles, but they basically do very similar damage. The Enforcer, he has an extra wound. Add 2 to the wound characteristic, so he's 3 wounds. The Hunger heals D3 wounds allocated to the unit. And Vampiric Agility. When the unit makes a move, it can pass across terrain features in the same manner as a model that could fly. So that's terrain features only. Keep that in mind. They can't fly. They just move across, like, say there was a building, a bush, or a wall. They're not have to pay that extra, 2 or 3 inches to move across it. Or if they wanted to go up a level, you could just direct measure and not pay the extra. Keywords: Death, Vampire, Soulblight Gravelords, and Crimson Court. That cost is 200, just like we talked about, but that wraps in with the Prince. Notes: they are vampire. They're purchased as part of a 2-unit set. So you'd have the Prince as 1 unit, those 3 as another. They can totally be on different sides of the board. So something to keep in mind. Their max wound output is 11. Their average wound output is closer to 3. That's, once again, this is not scary for anybody. You have to pick and choose where you're sending them, what they're doing, who they're fighting, because they're only 1, 2, 3, 4 wounds at a 4-up save. Not very survivable in the standard game AOS. The good can sort of fly. Heals wounds. Can they bring models back? It doesn't really talk about in the Hunger bringing models back. So if you've already lost a couple, can you bring those back? Now, if that is the case, tell me in the comments. Let me know. I would like to know, because then that would bring a little bit more utility to the unit, I think. They have the Vampire keyword, so things that spike off of that in the book, keep that in mind. Bad is just weak damage output in general. You can buff them, of course, but at the end of the day, really cool models. Think of them as a 40-part unit that has a trick or two. The Vampire keyword is nice for Castle. All in all, these models are very nice, but possibly not the best strategic choice in the book. Need to be buffed to make any real impact in close combat, and I gave them a rating of a C. Now, that's me really thinking about how survivable are they? What are they going to do? What would they do? Maybe sit on a backline objective, maybe support a unit, but I don't even know how they would really support a unit because they're not heroes. So their usefulness is sort of limited, I think, on the battlefield. I'm not saying that I would never take them. I'm just saying that finding a role for them that fits might be a little hard. All right, moving into the Vampire Lord. 6-inch move, 5 wounds, 3-up save, and 10 bravery. They have soul-bound blades, 1-inch range, 4 attacks, 3s, -1 rend, and D3 damage. This model can fly. It is a single model. Has the Hunger like all the other vampires, so it can heal D3 if it kills something. It can cast an Unbind 1, and it doesn't have a signature spell, but it has a command ability. You can use this command ability in the combat phase. If you do so, pick 1 Soulblight Gravelords summonable unit wholly within 12 of this model. Add 1 to the attack characters of that unit's melee weapons until your next hero phase. The same unit cannot benefit from this command ability more than once per phase. Keywords: Death, Vampire, Soulblight Gravelord, Hero, Wizard, and Vampire Lord. Coming in at 140, it's a hero, a wizard, a vampire, and a vampire lord. So it has both of those keywords. Max wound output is 12, average is 2.5. Of course, we always say that with buffs and different things, all out attack, that 2.5 would go up slightly, but you can just see right there, it's not by any means a beat stick. It's not something you're going to rush in and do a bunch of damage. The good can take enhancements. It is a great place to put your extra artifact. It's a vampire keyword, so abilities in the book that spike off a vampire keyword, you got it. Great command ability. One of the best command abilities we got in the book. Adding an extra attack to a summonable unit is very good. Zombies, extra attacks. Graveguard, extra attacks. That's where you're going to want to put those. Fly and heal wounds, which are good. Price is not bad for an all-around foot hero. Good armor. The bad, low wounds, not fast. Can't keep up with cavalry or flyers. Let's talk about thoughts. I wish they had various weapon options or could take a mount. That was one of the things that was very disappointing to me in the book is that they couldn't take a mount. I've got old mounted vampires. Vampire mounted would be beautiful in a cavalry army here, able to move around with the fast stuff and support them, even if they're supporting dire wolves. I just think that I wish they would have had that option. Or like they used to, you had the option to put them on foot, to give them wings, or to give them a horse. I wish they had various weapon options, even if it was just one or two. That would just add some interest. It would add some different modeling abilities, and I think it would make the choices of what you could take and why you would take it a little bit different. You're bringing them for the command ability. +1 to attack characteristics. Great. Every unit loves extra attack, but zombies and Graveguard will be your best returns. That's where you want to put it. They need to stay hidden behind the units, not something to run out and solo with. These guys will get one-shotted super easy. If any kind of comparable combat unit hits them, they're going to die. I know they got a good save. They'll have a 2-up if you put all-out defense on them, but you can't depend on them living. You want to tuck them behind the line. You want to have them surrounded by Graveguard or zombies and supported. Unit rating is a B+. Vampire keyword and command ability is a reason to take this. I think you can also stash enhancements on them, some relics. This is, if you're taking named characters, you might want to take a Vampire Lord just so you can, hey, I've got an extra enhancement to give out or an extra artifact and put it on them. You just have to be careful about that because they can be picked out in shooting, pretty easy. They could just be taken out kind of easy. All in all, I think they're a solid unit. They're not world beaters by any means, but they definitely have their uses. And I think you're going to see a few more of them out there on the table than maybe we did in Legions, just because the command ability is really nice right now. And like I said, enhancements, maybe take that backline enhancements we talk about when we were going through the dynasties, something that's going to stay behind the line and has an aura of buff or a benefit. So there you got it. The Crimson Court and Vampire Lord Warscroll review. Thanks for watching, and y'all be good.